Hello, folks. Hope all is going well wherever you are. This might be a shorter one because the missus is trying to fight off the lurgy, and I'm trying to help her in doing that whilst not catching anything myself, touch wood. But I thought I'd start this Hobby Nightmares with a anecdote that I heard the other night. I've been gaming for it with a few friends of an evening to try and chill out a little bit. And one of my friends, Jeff, is still working Games Workshop. He is working for Games Workshop as a store manager. We talk to each other once or twice a week, and I was playing some Kingdom Come Deliverance whilst having a little chat to him. And to say the least, he had a little story for me that I thought was absolutely ridiculously funny. He also said that he didn't want to write anything in because he couldn't be bothered, so, thanks, Jeff. But I did ask him if I could repeat this anecdote, and he said, yeah, go for it on the channel, no problem. So this happened a few weeks ago to him in work at his Games Workshop store. Now, I worked with Jeff several years ago when I was working at Games Workshop myself, and I'm really glad to say that he left and then went back. He left the company and then came back to it, and has done really, really well for himself, and now is running his own store, so good on him. He's a big proponent of the, working at a Games Workshop store, you have a vertical slice of life of the entire hobby. Everybody comes in, and on this particular day, we're going to call them Dave and Young Jensen, just simply because it'd be easier for me to remember those two names, because I don't want to give their real names, because when I heard the story, it was the real names, and I don't want to be saying any of those. So, Dave is the dad, and Jensen is the young lad. Now, these two have come into Jeff's store a lot, and you'll know the type, right? They come in, and the dad is quite exacerbated. He's quite tired because his son is autistic, and when I say autistic, I mean like very, He's a tiring child. This is a child who runs his parents down quite a lot. My heart goes out to them, but good on them for bringing up a polite young man, because by all intents and purposes, from what Jeff told me, young Jensen, is a lovely young lad. He's a really, really good lad, and he loves his Necrons. He's always in there painting them up because they're very simple for him to paint. Spray paints them silver, throws a load of null on them, and then dry brushes them a Stormhost silver or whatever. And they look amazing, look really, really good. For somebody his age anyway, because Jeff has told me that Jensen is around, say, let me just have a little think here. Let me go back on my texts. Hang on, I can do it this way. Hang on. Go back on my texts. 13. Right, 13. So 13, just starting out in secondary school, basically. So, lovely, energetic young lad, comes in, plays games all the time, and has some fun doing that, okay? So Jeff's there in the storefront, walking around, making sure that everyone's fine, and in come this famous twosome. And they're there for a bit of a game and just having some fun, things like that. There is some music going on in the store. Now, I have no idea what Games Workshop play on their music these days in the store, but when I was there, we were only allowed to play, licensed music that we had from a CD or several CDs that Games Workshop would give to us. And they were general, modern-day, inoffensive pop, I would say, right? But Jeff doesn't do that. Jeff puts his own CDs on. He curates his own CDs and makes sure that there's no swearing in them, right? Now, Dave, who is the dad of Jensen, is a massive Iron Maiden fan. Walks in with the Iron Maiden stuff on all of the time, leathers, all that kind of stuff, real hard knocks from back in the day. They're standing there talking about the hobby in general, and Jeff's looking down, and you can kind of see that Jensen's sort of tapping his foot, like really, really, really anxious, or wants to move, really wants to move. And they're talking about the hobby and going on about new releases, things like that. And Jeff looks around at his staff to make sure everything's okay. One of his staff has cleaned the window really nicely, and in Jeff's store, one of the windows is essentially one of the walls. Like the outward wall of the store is essentially a big window. I've been to this store; it's really nice. It goes out into the shopping centre, or the mall, as you guys would call it in the United States. So Jeff is sitting there, talking away to Dave and young Jensen. And all of a sudden, the opening refrains to Run to the Hills comes on. Right? By Iron Maiden. Very famous song. And, nothing really changes. And then we hear Jensen exclaim, "Oh my god, this is fucking amazing." at the top of his lungs. Before anybody can say anything, Jensen goes to run out into the street, just to start dancing in front of everybody. I don't know, it just happened that way, according to Jeff. He sprints full on towards the door. Thing is, the window has been cleaned to such a nice sheen that he sort of loses track of where it is and runs smack bang into this double pane glass. Nothing happens to the glass, but Jensen's head bangs off of the front of it. Literally, sending him careening backwards, like flying backwards in the air, and landing on his back and rolling over. Of course, mayhem ensues. Everybody's running towards Jensen. His dad's really, really, really upset. And all Jeff can do, and I swear to God, I don't condone this, Jeff literally starts laughing. Because he can't do anything else. He just says, well, you know, what am I supposed to do? When I was saying that, I said to him, dude, that's terrible. Like, what are you doing? You can't laugh at a child knocking themselves out. He goes, yeah, but you should have seen the way he fell. It's just, Jeff's just like that. This kid's like sprawled out against one of his introduction tables, and Jeff's just having a little chuckle, you know. Needless to say, Jeff then says to his dad, you might want to take him to A&E, the walk-in centre, just to make sure he's all right, because he was up and about, moving around, and Jensen wanted to stay in the store. Jeff was like, no, mate, you know, take him to the A&E. Listen, no worries there, and, you know, we'll hold your stuff here. You don't have to take it home with you. So he did sort him out in the end. And apparently, all ended well. They went to the A&E, and Jensen didn't even see anybody, because the NHS was so overwrought with people in the A&E, that it was going to take several hours for them to get to him. He seemed fine, so Dave looked up what to do on the internet and literally took him home, and he was fine. He wasn't concussed or anything like that. He had a massive lump on his head, but aside from that, he was fine. So that was Jeff's last interesting day at Games Workshop from a few weeks ago. And again, I've got many stories like this that I get told all the time. I always hold off from telling them because it's not happened to me, right? So, but if you'd like me to do more of these and ask me to get permission from the guys who tell me these things, I will do more if they don't write them in. But I thought I'd just do this one today just because I just thought it was really, really funny, and it tickled me when I heard it. So, you know, on to our next hobby nightmare. Cheers, Jeff, mate. By the way, thank you, mate, very much for letting me talk about that. On to our next hobby nightmare. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to go with Jay for this one, because you haven't given me another name, so here we go. Jay says, hey North, thanks for reading my last hobby nightmare with Lucy, my friend, Jack, my no-filter friend, and Iwona, my new fiancé. When did I read that? My God, that must have been ages ago. I showed Lucy, and as we talked about my version of the hobby nightmare, I mentioned that you had some experience with bouncing and security. I'm sure I remember you talking about this work, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, no, I have never worked in bouncing or security. No. I've been around people who've worked in bouncing and security. I think I mentioned one of them when I was working in London by the name of Biscuit. A very, very, very large man. And he was always the quietest man in the room. You know what I mean? I think I've mentioned him in the past. Maybe that's where you got your wires crossed. Lucy said that the thing he did where he lined up Jensen's spine with the ground to walk him out, the thing where he had his neck pushed down with his left hand and balls pulled up with his right, was actually a bouncer trick he learned and nothing to do with martial arts. Right, no, I remember this guy, right? I remember this guy. So this is you. Was this your crazy friend? Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, this guy was crazy. And I remember, didn't he knock you out or something? Anyway, never mind. He said that bouncers go for the belt or belt line, not balls, and just grab a collar because they're usually big, but the technique really comes from bar security guys, not black belts and stuff, which I thought you'd find kind of cool. It is cool. It is cool. He also said the best bouncer in the world was an old English guy that he knew with a walking stick. He could de-escalate anything because nobody wanted to bully the old man with his walking stick, and so there were never fights, and therefore he was great at his job. No fight is better than winning fights, but if you do choose to fight, the old guy would beat you with his stick. He told me this as another example of how you catch more flies with sugar than with excrement. Yeah, well there we go. Yeah, no, and you are right. You are right. There are very clever ways to get around confrontation. You know. Anyway. He also told me that he completely agrees with you when you said that his philosophy for life is correct with physical confrontation, but it's unhealthy in other areas of life. He opened up about how being so defensive isn't exactly great when it comes to dating and things like that. Yeah. Speaking of my soon-to-be wife, I asked her to marry me. She said yes before I finished the question. I got her ball and chain before anybody else poaches her, and I'll tell you that. She listened to the video and she hated it. Doesn't like thinking about that day at all, but she thought you were a great speaker. I tried showing Jack, but he don't exactly have an attention span like that. Right, I remember this. Right, okay. Yeah, this is the guy when your friend, you were defending your woman from another guy there, and you went for him, and your friend basically knocked you out, right? Because didn't you have a weapon or something? I remember that one. I've actually bought an ultimate starter set for 40k, and I'll be honest, I've always been into the lore of Warhammer and watching D&D stuff, but never really wanted to get into it myself. Watching your videos, as well as seeing my friends and soon-to-be wife get into it, has corrupted me. I hope to have my own hobby nightmares to share with you soon, and thanks for your great videos. As resistant I have been in the hobby, it really does bring people together, and I'm happy to finally pitch in and make some memories with my friends and family that love it as much as I hopefully will. Have a great day, North, and thank you for doing all the things that you do. Cheers, Jay. Yeah. It's good to hear from you again. A lot of people were kind of, and please excuse me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. A lot of people were kind of harsh on you last time when they said, listen, why are you picking up, I think there's a knife you picked up and went at the guy, and your friend just knocked you out. Yeah, I remember that one. If you're watching these Hobby Nightmares in a run, this should be from some time ago, like a couple of months ago, but it should still be fresh in your mind. Hello, by the way, if you're using the playlist. Hope you're doing well. Things are going well over here. He knocked you out, and he did the right thing for you, man. The minute you go for a weapon, you lose the high ground. Do you know what I mean? If you just go at somebody because they've annoyed you, fine. I said that at the time. Not because they've annoyed you, but if they cross the line, if somebody crosses the line with you, or your missus, and you go for them and say, listen, no more of that, please, right? You give them a stiff one to the jaw, right? That's fine. The minute you pick up a weapon, you lose the moral high ground, right? You're now the danger in the room. You've lost it. Right? You're a danger to everybody around you, so your friend did the right thing by knocking you out last time. That's a weird thing to say, but there we go. Moving on to a hobby nightmare with some more hobby in it. This is Matthew. Alrighty. He says, hello North, this is Matthew once again. I hope everything is going well. Today I want to share with you two things. A short and simple horror story, and the link to my Deathwatch Codex. Since Games Workshop decided not to make a codex for Deathwatch, or at the very least, keep the index up for people to use, I decided to make my own codex for Deathwatch and Imperium players to enjoy. I'm terrible with social media, Discord, and the internet as a whole, so feel free to share this link. Is this codex perfect? Not at all. There's probably some grammar errors, point imbalances, but it's all for casual play, and a reminder that Games Workshop cannot stop us playing the way we want to play. Well, I will share that in the comment in the description down below. If you're a Deathwatch player, maybe look up on the Google Drive that I'm going to put down there. Have a little look and see if you agree. It's pretty good. He says, I hope this link works. If it doesn't, let me know. Anyway, now for the horror story. And this is a bit of a short one, only involving me and my models. Alright? Over a year ago, right before 10th edition was released, I started collecting Space Marines. All of my other armies have been Xenos or tied to Xenos. I have Tyranids, Tau, Genestealer cults, Imperial Guard, originally a part of my Genestealer cult army, and now I have Deathwatch, the Xenos Hunter Space Marines. Dude, you've done the hobby in reverse. Usually people do Space Marines, and then after a while, they go and do something else. Do you know what I mean? They go and do, like, Xenos or whatever, right? You've gone in reverse. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. One of my previous stories, I mentioned that my brother and I were going through our old models to see what we wanted to keep. My brother Midas, I remember that name, has a lot of Firstborn Marines he bought off somebody many years ago, and I had some Grey Knight and Dark Angel models back when I tried to get into Marines. First, I bought off some of my other's old Marines. He had quite a few special weapons I could use in my kill team units, and a couple of old Dreadnoughts as well. Some of the models were also from the Assault on Blackreach box, our very first box. I don't have the orcs anymore, but I wanted to keep some of the marine models, despite how poorly put together they may look. I could still glue globs of glue, gaps between the pieces, and the connection points from the sprue where we twisted them off. Oh no. Don't twist off your models. That sounds wrong. But, you know what I'm saying. Now that I had a pile of old marines, all in different colour schemes, I just had to start painting them for my Deathwatch army. My OCD would drive me crazy seeing unmatched marines on the table, so I started painting and quickly realised that these models lost a lot of detail from the multiple layers of paint my brother had sloshed onto them. Here's where the horror truly begins. I looked up how to... Oh, here we go. I looked up how to strip paint off of Warhammer models, and quickly found that rubbing alcohol worked great. For the next couple of days, I would strip models, starting with my Dark Angels. I wasn't a fan of the colour scheme I used for them, so stripping the paint off wasn't a big deal. After that, however, I grabbed the small amount of Grey Knights I had and put them in the rubbing alcohol. As I walked away, I thought to myself, I should have taken pictures. The realisation hit me. Those Grey Knight models were some of my favourites. Not only that, they were the very first models I could use wash on, so they felt like milestone models in a way, a part of my painting journey, and now they were sitting in the rubbing alcohol. I was pretty disappointed, but there wasn't anything I could do to save them, but oh well. This is a reminder to anyone into stripping their models. If you're going to strip the paint off, if you all like them, take a picture or two. If you really like the paint scheme on the model, then don't strip the model. Instead, make a whole new model. Back when Midas and I were looking through our collections, there were a small handful of models he really couldn't part with. One of those models was the Space Marine Sergeant from the Assault on Blackreach box, named Sergeant Baldface. This Sergeant was special. During our first ever game, he was the sole survivor of his squad, and single-handedly killed not only the Orc boys that killed his squad, but also the Orc knobs from the box as well. We probably played the game wrong, but that didn't matter with the narrative we told back then. I've attached a photo of Sergeant Baldface and another one of my brother's models called Mr. Prepared that I've made my own versions of for my Deathwatch army. You haven't attached any pictures here, man. Attach some pictures and I will absolutely get them on here for the next episode on Friday. I believe this is a happy medium when it comes to stripping models. Not only do you have a new model painted with all your painting experience, but you still have your old model that you can look back to. Although Sergeant Baldface isn't the prettiest model in Midas' collection, we both know that that model has seen many battles, and now Sergeant Baldface is a member of the Deathwatch, sharing his orc fighting experience with other Space Marines. He is run as a Judicia with the Thief of Secrets enhancement, cutting down all who stand in his way. I can do all of this with the safety of Midas' Sergeant Baldface model is safe in his collection. Thank you for reading my story, North. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Cheers. I think that's a really good idea, and I do something similar. I don't really... I stand by what I paint, right? Even if it's not very good. It goes on the shelf, and I look at it as a learning experience, and when I get my next set, I endeavour to do better, right? One really good thing to do, and I've seen people do this, is buy a box of Space Marines. Okay. Now, this is going to sound stupid. Please bear with me. It's a really cool journey, right? Buy a box of 10 Primaris Marines. The standard box. £38.50, whatever it is. Save up for it. Get it. If you're going to start your Space Marine journey. Then, start reading Space Marine lore. As you're listening to it. As you're putting the models together. Put the models together. Don't undercoat them. Don't paint them. As soon as a Space Marine chapter jumps out at you and you go, wow, that's cool, take one Marine out of that set and look up a colour scheme way to paint them, right? And paint that Marine in that colour scheme. And then put it to one side, right? Read some more. And when you get another one that you like, say you've done Imperial Fists, you've done one Imperial Fist, cool. Then you do Raptors. Oh, I love Raptors, they look really cool. You take one out, do one in Raptor colours, right? Until you've got all 10 done. Once you've got an all 10 done of the Marines that you like, the lore of, the background of, and the colour scheme of, then you pick one and say, that's going to be my small army. But what you've got there is 10 models that show you your journey into picking your first army. That's something I used to do at Games Workshop. People used to say I was mad Like, you can't waste models like that. Yes, you can. They're yours. Of course you can. That's what it's all about. It's about painting models and having fun, right? And you've gone through... let me just take a sip of tea. Like, you've gone through a process that not many other people go through. Like, really, really meticulously gone, what do I want from this, I've done this before with a group of 10 Marines where I was looking for a colour scheme for my Emperor's Wolves. I literally just went, okay, they are really dark grey and red, but how do I play with those colours? And I did a set of 5 Marines that I had lying around. Just 5 Marines, put them together, did the colour scheme, thought they looked great. I picked one colour scheme, went with that, and now I really like the way that my army looks. It's such a good technique. It costs a bit of money. $38.50. I know, it's not a little amount of money. And you'd rather start your army off, with a unit and off you go. But it really does give you a length and breadth of not only the lore that you might like of Space Marines and the army you're getting into, but different colour schemes and different techniques that you learn. I would say this to people all of the time. Even if you want to collect Tyranids, get a 10 unit box of Tyranids. Get one of them and do different colours for each of the Tyranids. Necrons, the same. Do different dynasty colours for each of the Necrons. Orcs, the same. You know what... Tau, doesn't matter. Fire Warriors, yeah. You know what I mean. Your first box should be an experimental box to decide what you want to do. Don't be in a rush to go and get your army straight away. Enjoy the journey of selecting your colour scheme, really getting into the painting side of the hobby, listening to the lore, getting engrossed in the background and the universe, and then when you're ready, that's when you select one of the colour schemes and you go for it. It really does eliminate... because, let's be honest, a lot of you out there will select a colour scheme and then have second thoughts about it after you're a few units in. You've all done that. You know you are, right? Think how much more stable your choice would be if you already painted one of the models and then you've decided on it. Yeah, this is the one for me, and you go with it, right? It's part of your journey. Like, how cool would that be? You can look back on it, say, yeah, I picked them up from this rank here, and I know I can paint now because I've painted all these Space Marines different colours. I'm really good at different techniques that I've learned. You use that first box of Marines, or that first 10-man box of whatever, to foundationalise, if that's a word, your skills in the hobby to start off with. And you pick a colour scheme and you go from there. That's what I did with mine, and it was a really good idea, and I really, really enjoyed it. That Deathwatch Codex will be in the description down below, alright? I will speak to you tomorrow for some more 40k rantage, and then on Friday for some more Hobby Nightmares. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.